I hope you're ready for some ill logic. Last time I went over the Buffalo Bouffants draft for Season 6 of the Wooper Club Draft League. Please go check that video out first if you have not done so already, as it outlines the team we've got, as well as the mindset behind those picks and some of the rules for this season. Assuming you have done so, I'm going to be going over our Week 1 matchup here with a team breakdown, team builder, and the match itself. The Week 1 opponent is Jared, coach of the Cincinnati Ursaring. Jared is a newcomer to Draft League, and it's very cool to reunite with an old gaming friend of mine. I rarely get to chat with him anymore outside of our group's yearly gathering, so it'll be fun to battle him and hopefully chat with him more often. He actually has a very cool team put together, though a few weaknesses thrown in there too. At the top, it's definitely a grudge match, as Jared is the one who took Talonflame and threw off my entire draft strategy from round 5 onwards. After that is his G-Max Urshifu, Water form, as the Dark form is banned in our league. After that are Lucario, Porygon-Z, Duraludon, Gallade, Dracovish, which went first overall for the second draft season in a row, Dusknoir, Golisopod, Clefairy, and Fungus. For some positives, there are several hard hitters on the team, especially when choice items and setup potential is taken into account. Dracovish obviously stands out in this regard as a one-move mon that warps team building. Porygon-Z was a great pickup from Tier 3, who nukes with a super strong normal stab. The fighting types can all set up in cool ways, with Lucario having potential on multiple fronts, and the dangerous G-Max Urshifu having lots of coverage moves to deal with potential checks. The priority options are insane too, between Urshifu's Aqua Jet, Lucario's extreme speed and stab coverage, Golisopod's first impression, even Gallade. A lot of cool stuff going on here. However, there are some speed tiers at the top that are clumped together, but very solid. Yet there are a couple of very wide gaps, one after Talonflame and then another one after Dracovish, that both stand out. The gap after Talonflame is especially worrisome, as Urshifu being the second fastest forces him to use some Scarfs and agility sets to outspeed lots of important threats. The low tiers look particularly weak, with no disrespect intended to Clefairy, which is actually pretty okay, but they seem to be coming from a VGC perspective, where it and Fungus may actually be able to do something. Finally, the typings are a bit awkward. What with 3 fighting types in the lineup, only 1 ground immunity, Talonflame is the only hazard removal as well, so there's a ton of pressure on Talonflame to wear many different hats each week, and however much I was pining for it earlier, it isn't good enough to do everything. So, where does that leave us? If you're unfamiliar with my formatting, we'll go over specific threats on my opponent's team, going from least likely to come to the 6 I think he will bring, and then do the same for my side. To start off, Fungus is pretty awful, aside from clicking Spore once. Tiglet can absorb it, my team can pivot on it, and the only threatening damage it can output is from Foul Play. Next up is Dusknoir, who struggles against multiple dark types and the plethora of special attackers who it cannot hurt or burn. As an example, Magnezone is just going to Volt Switch out of it, doing half its health while getting away from the incoming Earthquake that is necessarily going to be coming, as no other option is really going to be doing any kind of damage to it. Clefairy is a legitimate Tier 5, and can be very annoying with Wish, but I have several Pokemon that won't really care about what it's trying to do and just nuke it or a switch in. The Volt Switchers are of particular note for the amount of damage they do to Clefairy while still retaining momentum. Golisopod has a tough time too, with several bug and water resists abound, and even the likes of Vikavolt coming outspeeding it. Finally, Gallade I think still has a good enough matchup to possibly come, but bringing 3 fighting types is a bit of overkill. If I'm him, I'm bringing a big ol' Urshifu and a special Lucario, and Gallade really doesn't beat anything that those 2 wouldn't already. It gets hard stopped by a couple keep threats, although access to knockoff could warrant it a spot. The others I think are a bit too necessary compared to Gallade. As for what's coming, Talonflame needs to come, but I think it does have an overall worse matchup than things like Gallade or Golisopod. It's a ground immunity, a defogger, a fast threat, but it can still get hard stopped by some members of my team like Colossal, or Mantine, or Sandaconda, or say a special Tyranitar. This is still a key piece, and I will explain why in my team breakdown. Next up is Duraludon, a powerful special attacker with good physical bulk. This is the most likely stealth rocker as well, but it could also run a mixed Assault Vest set, which could be pretty annoying. Body Press is great coverage for it alongside something like Thunderbolt and Draco Meteor. Maybe it could really wreak havoc on my team with the right set and good predictions. Lucario, as mentioned earlier, can be run physically or specially, with or without setup, and with strong priority. I don't have many great answers for it, especially before knowing what set it's running, and fighting is just a great typing matchup for my squad. Speaking of which, G-Max Urshifu has a stupid high attack stat and the ability to G-Max to use its very large move pool. Stab moves to raise attack and hit through protect, Aerial Ace for speed, Thunder Punch for Mantine, Ice Punch for Dragapult. The issue, of course, is that it can't run all of those, nor does it have an item to boost the output of any of those moves. But the raw power and coverage of Urshifu presents a problem. Dracovish will always be a top threat no matter what team it's on or against, as Vicious Red straight up OHKOs almost every mon in the game. I only have a couple possible answers to it, so don't be surprised to see those on the team solely so I do not lose to Dracovish. Finally, Porygon-Z hits so stupid hard with Tri-Attack, and I really need to know the set first before I can deal with it. But I cannot take too long with it, lest it set up a nasty plot or an agility and sweep me. So that's a lot of fun. Going over to my team now. Sneasel does not have a good time here. With 3 fighting types, lots of coverage, lots of ice and dark resists, it just doesn't have a place in the matchup. Stoutland struggles mightily too, again dealing with 3 fighting types and just underspeeding everything. It becomes over-reliant on Sand being up to be able to do anything. And considering my next point is Tyranitar, Stoutland fell through pretty quickly. T-Tar is of course a very good Pokemon, but everything I'm worried about outspeeds it and hits it super effectively with fighting coverage. Porygon-Z is about the only thing I'd feel comfortable using this for, but I have another Pokemon or two that can deal with PZ and do a little bit more in the matchup. Colossal just misses the cut here too, but the fighting weaknesses just are continuing to add up. I wanted to try and fit it in somewhere, set up spikes. I thought that'd be a very good chip against a mostly grounded team, but I just couldn't justify bringing something so weak to so much of the opponent's team. Finally, it may seem odd, but I decided not to bring my G-Max Sandaconda to the matchup either. Once again, it's got a good matchup. With a couple of coils, basically wins the game with Earthquake and Rock Slide as coverage. However, this setup is a bit inconsistent, and worst case scenario, I'd have to G-Max just to survive a hit and just hurt something back, maybe not even OHKO. Consistent, perhaps, but the matchups for the others are just as good, if not better, especially as a cohesive unit. So, before explaining each individual member of the team, I'd like to go over the mindset I'm trying to have for the matchup. It's pretty simple. If Sticky Webs are up and Talonflame is not, then I win. The whole rest of his team is grounded, and without hazard removal and most of his big threats, relying on a combination of speed and power to break through me, I can just take away the speed aspect, and I have one member in particular that is just going to run right over him, and it prevents a lot of the surprise factor of a Scarfmon that is sure to come, probably something like Dracovish. I have plenty of backup answers offensively and defensively, but I'd like to play around getting up Webs ASAP and then destroying him. I normally go through the squad from top to bottom in terms of tiers, but I think it makes sense to start with these centerpieces here. I see no electric immunities, I see huge vulnerability to webs, so of course Vikavolt makes sense to start with here. Vikavolt is super important in the matchup. It is critical to find an opportunity to set up webs when possible. Again, if Vikavolt can get up webs while Talonflame is out of commission, that's game. I can see it coming in on probably something like Lucario, resisting its stabs and the common coverage move of EQ to threaten webs. After that, a max special attack Volt Switch is going to chunk everything in its path, and Bug Buzz clear up anything else. Roost is cool longevity, and may seem a little odd with the Sash, but say I take just a smidgen of chip and then Roost off that damage, the Sash can become intact again. Pretty cool, backed up by max HP as well, a speed investment. The speed investment, rather, it just isn't doing enough to outspeed their ultimate threats, even under webs. It's too much commitment, and even then, probably not going to happen or be worth it. So, next up we're going to go over the other part of the Volt Switch duo, and that is going to be, of course, this Magnus Zone, hitting super hard with a pair of Specs and Analytic, without a Steel type to trap. Volt Switch, as described before, will help maintain momentum and probably KO anything on the team on a switch, thanks to Analytic. Flash Cannon is basic steel coverage. It can be used as an alternative to Thunderbolt, of course, both of which are functions to sweep, which we'll get to in a moment. Rising Voltage looks really weird here, I'm sure, but there is a world in which I decide to sack off Mantine to an Urshifu Max Lightning, after which Rising Voltage Underwebs just claims 4 kills, because it's a base 140 move boosted by Terrain, Stab, Specs, etc. Speaking of webs, the purpose of the EVs is to maximize special attack, and then outspeed max speed Urshifu under webs. With the web sub, it takes Talonflame or Scarfmon to outspeed Magnezone, whereas Thunderbolt KOs just about everything, even OHKOing Urshifu in the G-Max form, which is seriously impressive. So, yeah, that's the plan. If he brings one of his slow mods, that's just another opportunity to use Zone. He may also think I'm Scarfed, so there's a chance I could just try and take advantage of that. Super stupid strong. Just avoid the fighting moves, and I think it'll put in a good amount of work. So, with those two main pieces done, let's look at some of the other offensive pieces we've got here. I'm going to start off with the big boy himself in Dragapult. This is kind of a cool set here, as aside from Clefairy, Dragon Darts is putting in some serious work. A nice benefit of the only steel type still being neutral to Dragon as well in Duraludon. At +2, it should OHKO everything, once again, aside from Clefairy. So if I can find the right opportunity to do so, I may as well go for it. Sub to help set up, it helps to scout, maybe stalls out G-Max even. It helps me to find an opportunity to Dragon Dance up, to get the Dragon Darts going, and of course U-turn. In case I, for example, get the Slow Volt switch out, I can just U-turn right back out, just get a ton of chip damage. I figured that I really don't need the speed all that much, especially if I can get the webs up, so I went for a somewhat slower, bulkier spread. It lets me run Adamant, it lets me get up bigger substitutes, and I still outpace that max speed Urshifu and below with this spread as well. It's another piece along with Zone that can just win the game by itself relatively easily. So the other piece of the support/offense is this Silvally. I'm sticking with the normal typing because I'm slapping a Choice Scarf on it this time. This is my emergency piece that outspeeds his whole team unless Talonflame has a Scarf, because Urshifu cannot hold one. Multi-attack is stupid strong stab, even from normal coverage. Rock Slide hits the Talonflame, Parting Shot for more switching shenanigans, and Shadow Claw just as Dusk Noir, as well as maybe something like Duraludon neutrally. It's a nice revenge killer in case, say, Porygon gets a KO or Volt Switch gets a kill, and he thinks Talonflame can come in and outspeed. Parting Shot can also be nice to get in Dragapult for a Dragon Dance against something with -1/-1. I kind of like the synergy here. For typing, normal's fine. Fairy probably would have been ideal, honestly, for hitting the fighting types and the dragon types that he's got. And it could have been a type that that resists Vicious Rend as well. Maybe another option for that. But that's honestly about it. Potentially an AV set as well, plausible to deal with the Duraludon or the Porygon-Z. But I really like the safety net that the Scarf set provides. So the last two pieces are, of course, the defensive and special defensive duo. I guess I'm going to start with Tangela. It has a very standard physically defensive set with Leech Seed knockoff, but also attacks on Leaf Storm as actually very good damage over most of the team, and Stun Spore to further the speed control beyond Sticky Webs. Some of the calcs on Tangela at max defense are pretty silly, tanking multiple Vicious Rends, even from Adamant Banded Dracovish, and avoiding the 2-hit KO against all G-Max Urshifu with the possible exception of Max Hailstorm's Ice Punch due to the incoming hail. That's the main point for Tangela this week. You see, this is my first round pick. What better way to show it off than to wall the G-Max week 1? Even better, outside of G-Max, Leaf Storm can actually OHKO without investment, which is absolutely crazy. Tangela is crazy good, I promise. Physical attackers will not be able to break through unless the Swords Dance up. So I figured that Stun Spore alongside Leech Seed can provide a more proactive approach to hurting the physical attackers, at the very least allowing for another Pokemon to come in and beat them with ease once they are paralyzed and even slightly chipped. Honestly, Sandaconda may have a better overall matchup, but Tangela provides a good defensive wall for some of his very best mons, plus it's really funny. And finally, we have the Mantine. And I thought a lot about what Mantine could do this week, because it actually had quite a few viable sets, I think. Boots and lefties, of course, but also considered cool options like an eject button to tank a hit and then get in the Vikavolt or the Dragapult, as well as a Salt Vest to dedicate it to being a special wall, but without roost access, I didn't really feel like it was worth it. Wakanberry works in the end to survive a Thunderbolt better from a very especially offensive Duraludon or Porygon-Z, as well as a Thunder Punch Urshifu if needed. But the former two mons just get destroyed in return by the heat move of the day, which is a Mirror Coat. That's right, Thunderbolt, Tri-Attack, Draco Meteor. It doesn't matter when you see the face of destruction that is my little sea pancake named Flapjack. Aside from that, Roost is cool to get rid of some of the damage dealt. Scald is consistent damage, that is stab, and obviously has a nice little burn chance that can neuter the physical attackers in a similar, if really effective way as Tangela's Stun Spore. And for the last slot, Haze is another emergency button in case Porygon or Lucario start setting up. Reliable special wall for the special attackers, as well as a way to potentially stop things like Dracovish and Urshifu dead in their tracks. Seems good, as does the rest of the team, I think. Let's take a look at the battle and what went right and what went wrong. Looking at the team Jared brought, the only difference from my prediction is no Lucario, and instead there is a little Clefairy, staring down, of course, my Dragapult. Not much of an issue, really, but only one fighting type is a little interesting against my team, which is the weakest in the league to a single type. It's going to make it a little tougher for my Vikavolt to get in, but it also makes Vikavolt's webs a little less necessary, as Lucario is a big threat. I no longer have to worry about outspeeding. Still, I think that Silvally is an easy, safe lead against this team, as I'm really not trying to hide the Scarf on it right now, and can start off the match strong with an early parting shot. He leads off by sending out the Dracovic, which is a strong lead for my Scarf Silvally. Definitely revealing the Scarf here by staying in and clicking the parting shot, but it allows my incoming Mantine to take a crunch a little better than it otherwise would have. Still, 23% is a good bit, though my Mantine is much more specially defensive than defensive. I want to be at full health for any incoming special attackers, so I'm just going to go for a Roost, but he stays in, crunches, and gets the crit and defense drop. Not the greatest turn 2, I admit. However, I do have an outstanding physical wall on my team, worthy, of course, of a first-round pick, and Tangela is going to soak up the crunch with absolute ease. Talonflame is a pretty easy switch into Tangela, but I stay in and get the thick knockoff on the Expert Belt. Yeah, in hindsight, this is the first time that something weird was going on, I think. It's fine. I'm not fearing a Brave Bird or a Flare Blitz, so I'm just going to stay in and click Stun Spore. Heat Wave, oh, very luckily missed. That was a skillful dodge, for sure. Yeah, I can't say I expected that even a little bit, but the Talonflame is neutered for now, and if it's going to be a special Talonflame, then Mantine is, of course, the option, taking only 11% from the Heat Wave. Though this actually shows that it is a max special attack Talonflame that probably had Heat Wave specifically to prey on Tangela's poor special defense. For now, though, this is the ideal time to get the Roost off. As he goes into Duraludon, it's time for the tech. Thunderbolt goes off, consumes the Wakanberry, deals a total of only 36%, but in return the Mirror Coat 80%. Whew, that's a lot. I admit I was hoping for the Oko, but I was also particularly calculating according to a boosting item like Life Orb or Specs, and instead we got no boosting item at all. It was a big chunk, though. Very significant indeed, but the T-Bolt threat remains, and I can't chance something like Vikavolt to... I can't... So I don't want to be locked into Thunderbolt and stay in, but I also kind of don't want to risk switching into something and having him being able to drop a Draco on me. So I decide that the switch-in should be Silvally, who can take the incoming hit, threaten to outspeed and KO right back, only take 36%, which is pretty nice. I need to just multi-attack. It's going to KO the Duraludon if he stays in, which he does not. He goes right into the Urshifu, which takes actually just a little bit more than half, which is fantastic from the Silvally normal. While it may seem easy for me to just stay in and finish the job, I know this is G-Max mod. He could simply G-Max up, survive the hit, and probably KO back with a Max Knuckle. Luckily, I have something designated for Urshifu in the form of Tangela, so in it comes, eating up the close combat crit. Another crit onto my poor walls, but Tangela tanked it like an absolute champ, and of course threatens it out, except of course that it doesn't switch, doesn't even G-Max, just goes for the straight poison jab, and while I'm happy it didn't poison, this looks like a max roll from Adamant Urshifu, and the Leech Seed miss afterwards stings a little bit too. It makes up for the Heat Wave miss, I suppose. I can no longer stay in though. I decided to make a little bit more of an aggressive switch into something that resists both stabs as well as this shown coverage move. Dragapult comes in and effectively neuters the Urshifu, taking the CC by taking absolutely nothing at all. This seems like a fine opportunity to do Dragon Darts right away, but I thought at the time it may be wise to just simply U-turn out, as if he stays in I just go back into something that can tank a hit. Unfortunately, Dracovic was the switch. Very unexpected, and it makes me wish I had just subbed up or gone with the raw damage from the Dragon Darts. A bit of chip on it doesn't hurt. Bring in range of things like Magnezone. Also gives Mantine another chance to roost up and stop Fish's Rend from coming out again. It is very important to keep that Mantine healthy after all, as it's about the only thing that can take a hit from Porygon-Z and Duraludon. Of all things, Dragon Rush comes in, it hits, does 44%, and it's roosted off, leaving me with a whole 6% more than when I started the turn. However, I can take advantage of the locked-in Dragon move, assuming that Fish is Scarfed, and bring in the zone with even very little investment, only taking 20% from the incoming Dragon Rush. And this basically nets me either a KO at this time or some chip onto the Clefairy. because this is a very strong mon, and Analytic will be boosting whatever it's doing, as well as the choice specs. Thankfully, he decides to sack the Paralyzed Talonflame to the Volt Switch, which makes enough sense, I think, as Tangela had effectively neutered it already earlier. First KO of the season is going to go to the Specs Magnezone. With the momentum, I decided to go into Silvally, which, of course, can just pivot out again with Parting Shot, and that's just what I'll end up doing against the Porygon-Z. It kind of makes me wish I had gone with Explosion this week. It would have been a straight 1-for-1 trade, but oh well, them's the breaks. I decided to go into Dragapult, as I think it's very unlikely he'll go for a Ghost move, and incredibly unlikely he'll go for a normal move, but he has the middle ground. Psychic? Psychic coverage doesn't really do anything for him, so forgive me if I'm a bit confused. It takes out a little more than a third of my HP, reveals the Life Orb as well. I'm kind of hoping at this point he is going to be scared out, so I'm just going to set up the Substitute. But in order to break the Substitute instead of Psychic again, he reveals the Shadow Ball as well. A little more Life Orb chip, pretty nice as well. Starting to get into range of some good moves here, like Multi-Attack or Volt Switch. I'm just going to get some chip damage with U-Turn again, though, getting another 33%, going to the Special Wall of Mantine, tanking that Shadow Ball like an absolute champ. Psychic, only slightly stronger move, 18%. Mantine is doing a very good job here, roosting up with Impunity, forcing it to take some more Life Orb, Recoil, and now that I'm this healthy, I can just go for the attack into the Protect. I'm starting to figure out what that weird feeling I'm getting is all about here. Regardless, it's a low Porygon-Z now, so I'm just going to Scald the incoming Clefairy, and it is going to do a big fat 18%. Honestly, a little bit more than I expected, but it is Clefairy after all. This is my opportunity, though. Finally, I've been waiting for the Talonflame to go down, and for Clefairy to come in so that I can just come into Vikavolt to set up the webs. If it wishes, I can assume it'll teleport out safely. I just set up the webs easily, and I web whatever is coming in next, which is perfect. I can also keep my Sash intact, so I can just take the hit if I need to, and then Volt Switch into something like Magnezone, get another couple KOs. It's perfect. Except for, of course, the fact that Sing's 55% accuracy hits, so it's sleepy time for the Beetle. That's the way it goes sometimes, I think. I think we've gone a little bit past making up for the Heat Wave miss, but this is no time to be salty about it. I decided to just burn a turn of sleep, just in case I can come back in later for something, but this, of course, gives them the free switch into the Dracovish. Genuinely, that's the right play. I think that makes a lot of sense. Mantine is going to come back in as he gets yet another Dragon Rush. I needed to get Mantine in later to heal up, so it's back to Magnezone. Now he's 4 for 4 on the Dragon Rushes, but looking back, I probably could use Tangela here instead of the Mantine anyways to keep the Mantine healthy, but here we are. By which I mean the same situation as before, where Magnezone claims a Volt Switch kill or forces in the Clefairy again, and he decides to sack off the Urshifu this time, which is pretty funny considering that it never even G-maxed. Anyways, I could have, I suppose, gone into Silvally here to pivot away again, but I saw an opportunity for Tangela to regen health. Of course, without a switch into Duraludon or his choice of PZ, I probably should have just gone into the Silvally to begin with, as it threatens KOs anyways on all but the Clefairy. This, in hindsight, I think was my biggest misplay of the game, more so in the lack of awareness of my switch-ins to PZ and Duraludon, both of which can spam stab moves and do way too much damage. In this case, I decide I'm going to go out into Silvally to take the incoming hit, and you can't really fault me for not expecting Hyper Beam to come out here. Maybe Dragon Bolt was the better play, but taking a Shadow Ball would have been very risky. Yep, that'll take down the Silvally, I think. The next biggest misplay of the game probably comes here, as instead of claiming the easy KO on one of the big special attacking threats that I wasn't doing well against, I decided that I should I was so set on Mantine being able to tank more hits, I went ahead with this anyways, anticipating having to take another hit from the Porygon. I'm just going to roost up once, and then again, but Dracovish is the switch in. That's not bad for me at all, I think. I'm just going to go into Tangela to take the incoming Waterfall. That's not Vicious Friend, and I don't have an explanation for that one. We'll take it, though. It's time for the Pink Menace to come in, and it's going to eat a Stun Spore, which is the best as I have available for it. See if I can fish out maybe a couple more sleep turns, and oh, Dracovish is back in. Back out to Tangle, I suppose. And a couple of turns later, he is 6 for 6 on Dragon Rush, but a knockoff claims his item at least. Now 7 for 7 on Dragon Rush, but Leech Seed connects to soften the blow a little bit. However, it's time to claim a KO. On the crunch, Leaf Storm picks up the KO for Tangela. Feels good to get a KO with the tier 5. It also, of course, though, reintroduces the problem of Porygon-Z. Mantine, I guess, is my switch. And while I do eat a Psychic, only 23% being taken. Hyper Beam does, in fact, finish it off, though. 77%. That's just a couple of mid-rolls, too. That was a... Wow. Maybe slightly high-end. It kind of depends on the set, but it'll take care of PZ by Life Orb Recoil, and that's kind of what mattered. Another possible misplay here. We're down to just 2 of his mons left. Ignore the glitch with the Urshifu still showing up. He's only got the Clefairy and the Duraludon left. Dragapult was definitely the move here. I could Dragon Earth the Duraludon or U-turn the Clefairy. Or if he switches into Clefairy, just U-turn anyways, but oh well. I take the Draco, and I do not get to Volt Switch out on the second turn of Sleep. Tangela is a pretty safe switch at this point, as I'll take the Regeneratable, is that a word? Flash Cannon damage, and we'll just have to deal with the Clefairy coming in. I should be able to pick up the KO on Duraludon with the Leaf Storm, however, the switch, and another miss. Is just fine. The Hex is starting to rack up a little bit, but the damage would have been negligible, honestly, to Clefairy, so I think that's fine. It's actually good to have this thing in against Clefairy. After another Protect, Knockoff will finally claim the Eviolite, which is kind of a big deal in trying to whittle away at this thing, get this thing down. I just want a little bit of damage off on this thing. And it goes into Duraludon, and Leaf Storm connects, and I get a crit, and that thing is special offensive as all else. I figure it's just safest to let the Tangela go down here. Maybe it would have been better for the Vigavolt to go down here, but I just wanted the free switch into Danny Phantom at this point. I thought that made a lot of sense. I'm so sorry, Tangela. You will be missed, however. Duraludon is so low, U-turn is still a KO, so he's going to swap in the Clefairy. And you know what that means. It is time for Magnezone again with a Specs Flash Cannon. Going to take out the Duraludon. And that will ensure the 3-0 victory once the Protects wear off there. And GG to Jared. Note at the end the Helping Hand coming out from the Clefairy. Yeah, I think this was a mostly doubles or VGC team that was imported into singles. I wasn't able to grab the post-game interview with Jared, but... I feel like that's got to be it. The Protect on multiple members without any way to take advantage of it. The Helping Hand, the Heat Wave on the Talonflame, it's just a feeling I'm getting, especially with how our last season was VGC. So, at the end of the match, I kind of want to do a retrospective about how things went, what things went well, what things did not go so well under my control, under my opponent's control, or hacks-wise. I'm gonna go through my opponent's team first. The Dracovish not clicking Fishious Rend ever was curious, though I did have a Mantine, so I guess so, but it was so weird seeing Dragon Rush at all, and then seeing it hit all 7 times it was used, but I was able to take advantage of the Dragon move to get in Magnezone multiple times, force multiple KOs, which was fantastic. The Talonflame Heatwave miss was honestly very unfortunate for him. That would have actually been a very nice surprise if that had hit, but otherwise I'm not sure the set would have been all that effective. Porygon-Z is an absolute menace, but the set provided would have been totally walled by Tyranitar, which honestly is making me think that I should have considered that one a little bit more, as it would have countered that, it would have countered the Talonflame. Hyper Beam was a very cool way to break through my team, but I feel like Tri-Attack would have done just as well, and if Mantine were really a problem, Thunderbolt was an option. Urshifu not G-maxing at any point was really odd too, and then sacking it early to the Magnezone was pretty unfortunate. I think I played around it pretty well, but I also got a bit unlucky with the crit on Tangela and the miss from Tangela. Clefairy was actually a pretty good bring, I think, but obviously I got unlucky again from the Sing hit, although I suppose it's more in his favor to hit, it's 55%. Otherwise, that particular set didn't really achieve much of anything, and didn't even enter the match for a good bit. I was so worried throughout the match of a knockoff coming in, or a Moonblast actually doing a little bit of damage to something that I didn't switch anything. I didn't want to risk that from things like the Tangela, which the knockoff from it, which would have been really nice, or the Dragapult coming in on it. Finally, the Duraludon. I think this may have been the thing I underestimated the most. Repeated Draco Meteors were something I couldn't really deal with very well. I'd expected it to be a little more offensive, which would have facilitated the Mirror Coat KO. On my side, though, while Dragapult would have easily been walled by the Clefairy, I think I was too scared of it. Switching in more often, the Dragapult in would have been, I think, a better idea, considering I could just switch out of the Clef with U-turn. I wasn't choice locked or anything, and this may be more apparent in hindsight, but U-turn was still such a safe play. I can't really see it matter all that much. Magnezone, I think, was very well played. I really enjoyed finding opportunities to just claim KOs, with the Specs Analytic guaranteeing the KO with Volt Switch, keeping momentum. I could have found better switches afterwards, but this was definitely the star of the match. Silvali's set could have been tweaked potentially, but Parting Shot was valuable to help others tank better, particularly the Tangle and Mantine walls, and I liked the safety net it provided. Mantine was an effective wall, and though it was there to tank special hits, it ended up needing to tank things like Crunch and Dragon Rush from Urshifu, so perhaps more physical bulk would have worked out a little better. Vikavolt was obviously put to sleep and then did nothing, but that was just genuinely unlucky. Clefairy, I still think, was the mon to switch Vikavolt in on to get the webs up. I don't think I could have really afforded to eat a big hit from anything else, otherwise I would have needed to rely on a Volt Switch with not KOing, a Parting Shot out, or a U-turn from Dragapult to get in the Vikavolt. And I'm not really sure there was a proper opportunity to get that in and still be okay afterwards. Perhaps on the Dracovish, but I don't even know if he had Vicious Rend, but that's definitely a hindsight thing right there. And finally, Tangela, of course, lived up to expectations, putting the team on its back and sponging hits from multiple members of the team. Paralysis, knocking off the Violite, multiple Leaf Storms. Even with the misses and getting crit multiple times, it was super valuable, especially from a tier 5. In conclusion, a couple of misplays on switch-ins, I think, and a couple of super unfortunate hacks plays prevented a cleaner game, but I'm pretty satisfied with the Week 1 W. The next couple weeks only get tougher, with Week 2 being against our buddy Steve Chuck and the Waterdeep Wobbuffet, so hope to see you for that one.